Hey, welcome back to our Film Race series. I'm Brian, and today we're going to talk about cinematography. One thing I love about approaching a film race as a cinematographer is it forces you to do double or even triple duty with the time you have to tell a story. So whereas on a longer piece, or if you have more time, you might film something a little more traditional with wide shots and close-ups and then make it in the edit. Sometimes on a film race, you need to convey that a character is losing their mind, or the character is afraid, or that a character, you're doing a POV. So that time crunch does force you to use every single tool you have in your arsenal, a big one which is cinematography, visual storytelling, so that it's not just about the writing or the directing, but also how you film and present a character or a scene can really add to the whole part of your project. Some people might not think there's time for cinematography on a film race, but really you don't have time not to use cinematography, because it's just gonna help you get your story across in a much faster way, where instead of having like a huge scene of dialogue or exposition, a single shot might set up everything you know about a character or a situation. So some of the challenges that you might face collectively as a team when approaching cinematography in a film race is just the fatigue of the day as it wears on, and not holding yourself accountable to keep up a standard of work. Just basic things like making sure your frame composition, no matter what you're framing, is a good composition, making sure that if you're moving the camera, that it's telling you some information besides just moving the camera to move the camera, that you're maintaining a quality of moving shots versus static shots, that you're kind of making sure when you get into the edit, you're not, yelling at yourself for, oh, I wish I'd held that half a second longer, I wish I'd gotten that coverage I know that I needed. Of course, anytime you're doing multiple roles or wearing multiple hats, that fatigue just compounds. So the brain power to direct and shoot, and then also be thinking ahead to the edit. It's not the best situation. Like, I prefer when I'm directing and have a DP that I know and trust to get things done. That's been some of our best work. Don't always have that luxury though, because DPs, like anybody, move, they travel different cities to work. So yeah, when you're doing a lot, the amount of mental fatigue in addition to physical really will get you down. So for me as a director and cinematographer, it is sometimes hard to let go of that one component of cinematography and let someone else do it. And the times that it's worked the best, and this is with a lot of filmmaking teams, no matter what level you're at, when you have a really good relationship with a DP who kind of thinks like you can kind of finish each other's sentences. So some of my best relationships with DPs have been, the camera's already set precisely where I would have set it, because that particular DP has the same intuitions as I do. So it really becomes like this drift compatible relationship where you're doing two things at the same time, which sounds silly to say, but it's amazing how good it is when that relationship works, and how tricky it is when it doesn't work, because you end up doing a lot of micromanaging and correcting and like trying to mesh styles. I remember we were filming Sophia, we got a really late start. The sun was like already going down and we hadn't shot anything. Would have been really easy to kind of just say, wow, let's just race, let's get this done. But I really pushed myself and said, I'm gonna make sure whatever we get from here on out, that it's framed properly, that it's lit well. And I was really proud of the work I did and our team kind of coming together to make that happen. So it was nice to have those pieces when we got into the edit, that we didn't, sacrifice the quality of what we were capturing just because we were running out of time. One thing that drives me crazy when I've worked with or seen other DPs work is when everything is shot from like a 5'5" human's perspective. The tripod is always set at eye level, and that, just throw that out the window right away. How you position a character in the frame, or an item in the frame, or object in the frame, tells you so much about it. So if you're, being dwarfed by it, like the classic cowboy shot, where they're looming overhead, or if you're looming over the character, it does so much to help your audience feel what they're feeling and see where you're going with the story. Don't waste your character's reveal in a film. That could be an impactful moment if how you choose to reveal your character in a story or in a movie. I love wrestler style shots where you're tracking a character over the shoulder, walk with them through a scene or through the opening part of the film. That's always very exciting to me. So yeah, make the moment of revealing your main character, your main protagonist, impactful and say something about them. I've mentioned fatigue, and that's actually one of my weakest points as a cinematographer. Karen, my producer, will often say I might be like exhausted or tired or not sure if what we're capturing is, you know, gonna be usable. And she always say, well, just make it look pretty, which sounds kind of like obvious, but there's been times I got into the edit where I was like, oh, I wish I had trucked down just a little bit, or I had just reframed them a bit. I would do a quick shot and have it. But if you get into post and all you have is a bunch of pretty well composed images, you're already off on a really good start on your edit. So yeah, make it look pretty. So whatever you do, don't just phone it in, don't just get the shot quickly, you know, make sure it's in focus, make sure it's lit properly, and make sure that the framing is telling you something. Just making sure you take the time to get it. Something that's gotten me before is kind of knowing what your final shot of the film is going to be. You're trying to keep up quality across the film, but certainly that last shot is the last thing you leave your audience with, so making sure that that's conveying what you want. So I'd love to hear some of your cinematography wins down below, or stories, so please comment. If you haven't, please subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Film Race series.